Hey guys, so I'm a movie guy, right? I love watching movies, I love watching movies, I love watching TV shows, mostly movies. Love playing video games too, mostly movies. And since I talk about movies a lot, I'm sure you all think I've seen every movie out there. Well, I'll be honest, no I haven't. There are some movies I missed. Mostly, you may think mostly just the ones I'm too young to see, but as a matter of fact, there are a bunch of popular movies I choose not to watch for a reason of cause. And to tell me something closer, there are some popular movie franchises out there that I personally don't enjoy. So today I'm going to tell you the top 10 movie franchises I never really got into. Franchises I probably really don't feel like enjoying. Franchises other people enjoy, just not mine. This is my personal opinion. It's the top 10. Alright, it's only 10. I mean, come on, there's not more, right? It's only 10. There's 10 movie franchises don't really feel like getting into. Let's take a look. Number 10 is Twilight. Now, I know not a lot of people like this franchise. You may think you're smart for not enjoying the franchise. But for some reason, this franchise has actually grossed a bunch of money, which is a reason I would want to see it. I chose not to, not because the franchise I heard was a flop, people hated it. That wasn't the reason. It's because it's Twilight, I gotta be honest. I actually remember in middle school I found a book on Twilight. I decided to look at it, and I personally don't really understand what it's supposed to be. Guessing it's like some sort of a series of mysterious stuff, kind of like the Twilight Zone. But I don't know if really Twilight's gonna be something I could sit through. It kind of feels like a more for girls, since the main hero looks pretty hot to the girls, and I don't know. I feel like Twilight's more of a girl type of thing, something my sister would get into. I guess boys could get into it too, but I personally just didn't think Twilight was something I could sit through. I'll be okay if I do get into it, but since I never really found it amusing, and now I still can't agree it doesn't look amusing, especially after reading all the negative reviews, Twilight just ain't for me. Number 9 is Transformers. Well, this is another really grossing franchise that is critically hated. The movies grossed a lot of money, yet flopped at the box office. Which isn't reason, did I say flop? I make mistakes. I need to write a script. What I mean is, it's movies that critics don't like, yet it's box office success. That's not the reason. When I was young, when I was a child, I actually was into Transformers a lot. I owned a bunch of toys. I watched some of the cartoons. So you may wonder why I don't want to watch the movie series. Because the movie, it's live action. I don't know if I want to see these toys become live action. It doesn't look like something I'd sit through. It directed by Michael Bay, and it seems with nothing but explosions. I'm not sitting for that. I want to sit down and watch some of this cartoon stuff, this kid Transformers. I want to get into the children's Transformers, not the adult Transformers. That's not something I can sit through. I don't want to sit through all this stuff. I want to sit through the original Transformers. If you look closely, you notice the logo is from the original Transformers cartoon. I made a drink while making this video. I don't know why. Anyway, Transformers, the cartoons and toys were fun, but I don't know if I'm really gonna want to watch them in live action. It looks kind of simple. It's kind of like Marvel. It's just kind of like another type of Marvel, and I don't know if I like that so much. Number 8, The Mummy. No, I will admit this is a horror franchise, and I do admit horror is a pretty fun type of genre. It gives us nice scares. It's great, especially for next month. It's gonna be Halloween month, so that's good. Now, why do I not want to watch The Mummy? Well, there's 2 words, 1 person, Brendan Fraser. I hate Brendan Fraser. While he isn't one of the worst actors of all time, every time he does perform, it's just he always seems to have no real feel to his emotion. I don't never really care what he has to say, because he always just has his weak way of speaking to me. I don't know if I really think of him as a well-acted person. And knowing how he is the star of all 3 Mummy movies, I don't know if that's going to make me enjoy the films. And I honestly do think The Mummy is something that doesn't sound very scary. It's a mummy, sure, but I don't know. I watched the old Mummy film from the 30s, the classic Mummy movie, and I have to say, a story about Mummy for horror genre is honestly not really that necessary. I don't know if we need to bring historical elements to become horror characters. Not much in this movie I can relate to. I know some people have a good relationship with this. I just personally don't feel like it's something for me. Number 7 is Mission Impossible. Oh boy, here we go, fellas. This has become a huge success ever since. It was an 80s TV series that isn't as popular to most of the kids. We mostly are familiar with the movie franchise, and a lot of these movies have succeeded very well. There was just one 2 years ago, Fallout. I don't know when the next one's coming out, but if there isn't the next one, I'm not going to see it. The reason I don't think Mission Impossible is that interesting is because it's just the idea of action movies with Tom Cruise. I love Tom Cruise, mostly in the 80s. After the 80s, his role in the 90s always seemed to get a little mixed up. He always has mixed up roles. He's always the first day you see him in action movies, the second day you see him in dramas, the third day you see him in comedies. I just don't know. He does everything. He's like going mixing up all over the place. Back in the 80s, we mostly see him as one unique form of character, drama. In the 90s, man, he's used for anything. I don't know about what that's supposed to mean, but Mission Impossible, well, it kind of feels like James Bond, and I have gotten into James Bond. Since I got into James Bond, do I really need to look at this too? I mean, isn't this something that's comparable to James Bond? You will either do James Bond or Mission Impossible. To me, I think it is, and I choose James Bond. Mission Impossible, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it ain't for me. It's for most of those people who are into modern day action and don't give a crap of what the 60s had with James Bond. I do, though. I certainly do. Number 6 is X-Men. So I'm into the MCU, but not X-Men. Well, that's the thing. The X-Men is literally just the Avengers, but with different crew members. The X-Men crew is something different, I'll admit. I mean, there is a little difference in this, but the entire franchise is just it's just the predecessor to Marvel. And since I got into Marvel first, you think I'm gonna have to rewind to look at X-Men again? I mean, I don't need to rewind through X-Men. I've already gone into the MCU too much. It took me a while to learn about the MCU. Now I have to take a while to learn about the X-Men. Do I really want to do that? Not really. I kind of don't feel like going through that all again. And I do have to admit, I have seen some of the spin-off films of X-Men. I've seen the Wolverine movie and Deadpool. Deadpool isn't really part of it. He never appears, but he is an X-Men type. The Wolverine, I have to admit, a lot of people love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Now, in my opinion, he ain't the right choice. Now, hear me out. Acting is fine. He doesn't suck at acting. He just sucks at getting close to the original Wolverine. Remember in the X-Men cartoons and comic books, Wolverine looked pretty kid-friendly. He had a yellow and blue suit. The claws were nice. He was nicely done. In the movies, they take the idea of being PG-13 and R a little too far. They make him drink, smoke, give him a bunch of blood on his face. They even have him say the F word a few times. I don't want to see my childhood cartoon character do that. I mean, I know they did it with some of the other MCU characters, but it doesn't go that far. They just make their suits their suits aren't so different. They're a tad different. Wolverine is super different. I don't know if I really compare him that well. But with an overall actor, he's good, but compared to the original Wolverine, he ain't. X-Men, I don't know if I really want to go back through the X-Men again. I've kind of already gotten a lot into the MCU, and now I have to go all the way back to X-Men. Do I really want to do that? Do I really have to do that? Number 5 is The Hunger Games. Now, like Twilight, The Hunger Games is a book series that mostly was read by girls more than overall us boys. Us boys read all this other stuff. Now, for that being said, that doesn't mean boys shouldn't watch The Hunger Games or read them. It just means that sometimes we choose not to. I remember in my 8th grade class, we read The Hunger Games for a project, and I decided to go ahead and watch the movie and cheat on the project. Is that kind of cheating? I don't know. Anyway, I did, and I had to admit, I don't really know if I'm gonna feel like. I was thinking after I succeed in that project, I would continue on with the Hunger Games franchise. But I then started thinking, I don't know if I'm gonna feel fun sitting through it. I must will just stick to what I originally watched, and I kind of think the only reason I watched the original Hunger Games was for school purposes. I don't know if I really was gonna enjoy the rest of the franchise. I honestly feel like I'm gonna sig through. It's not gonna be fun. So I decided to go ahead and continue on with my life for other franchises and decided to skip ahead for Hunger Games. If I ever have another school project that involves watching the other Hunger Games movies, I will. But if it's my choice, I don't know. I don't know, really. Yeah. Number 4 is Star Trek. Okay, this is like Mission Impossible, where it's a this or that choice. With Star Trek, you would either start with this or start with Star Wars. And you know me, I'm a huge Star Wars guy. But since I got into Star Wars, I remember when I was young, my whole childhood I was getting into Star Wars. When I was in my childhood, I had no idea what Star Trek was. I didn't know what it was. When I was like 11 or 12, I figured out what Star Trek is, and I thought, would I sit for this? Nah. Since I grew up with Star Wars, I don't know if I'm really going to go back that far to look back at Star Trek, since it came out before Star Wars. I mean, come on, I'm already a big Star Wars geek. I don't want to get into this Star Trek and have to get rid of all my Star Wars merch and replace it with Star Trek merch. That could just happen, because Star Wars could have been inspired by Star Trek. I don't know. Since I got into Star Wars a lot more, and since I never knew what Star Trek is until now, I feel like I just don't feel like rewinding to what started it all. I don't know. A lot of people enjoy Star Trek. I do talk about how I love classics, but for this Star Trek, personally, I'm already into Star Wars. I don't need to waste my time with this. Number 3, Superman. You all think I think Superman's a bad hero? I do not think Superman is a bad hero. He's the most powerful hero in the entire DC universe. I mean, the thing about him though is he's kind of the most basic, the most simple one. Whenever you look up superhero on Google, the first icon you find is Superman. He's like the definition of superhero. That's the thing, man. I kind of was going through with Batman a lot more. I remember having huge Batman stuff. I had a kind of a relationship with Superman, only kind of. I was more into Batman. I got Batman and stuff going on. My Superman relationship was only a little bit. And if you have seen my list of honorable mentions for the favorite movies of all time, you did see that the Superman movie was on there. And yes, that's a good movie. After watching that movie, I was maybe thinking about continuing, but I found out that there's a lot more of Batman I gotta check out, so I'm going ahead and chilling with Batman and the rest of the DC Extended Universe, rather than sitting through the Superman stuff. And the movie Batman vs. Superman, that's kind of what I'm doing. Batman, I would think. Now I know everybody hates that movie, trust me, I hate it too, but I was expecting it to be good, and I was saying going on Batman's side. I mean, it's kind of all about what I used to think rather than what I did think. Even though that movie was a bomb, not Superman. Superman's a great hero, just not the kind of movie franchise I'm gonna binge through. I'm binging through Batman, not Superman. Number 2 is Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Now, out of all the franchises Disney put together, all of them are all made with all animated ones. You always see franchises come from Pixar, some small Disney ones. But the one live-action franchise that everyone has praised to be the best from Disney is the Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, there's also Star Wars and Marvel, but those two are owned by Disney, not really made by Disney. This is made by Disney. And actually, as a matter of fact, for those who don't know, this whole franchise was literally inspired by a Disneyland attraction that they used to have back then, around the 80s and 90s. And they decided to turn this all into a real franchise. I don't know why, but I don't know. I saw the original Pirates of the Caribbean. Let me tell you why I've never gotten to this franchise. Because the original Pirates of the Caribbean movie ain't my thing. I saw it and I thought it was okay. I didn't really think it was going to help me enjoy the rest of the franchise. I thought it was okay. I just didn't know. If I thought the movie was much better than okay, I probably would have gotten into the franchise. But since I thought it was just okay, I didn't really think I was going to enjoy the rest of the franchise. Since I did hear the movies got worse over time. So that being said, I don't know, Pirates of the Caribbean just ain't my tea. Like let's say you go to Starbucks, you want a nice cup of coffee, you get Pirates of the Caribbean coffee, and you go back and say, I don't want this coffee, I want Star Wars coffee, and you get that coffee rights. And you then sue Starbucks for everything they got. That was a terrible comparison. I'm just saying that Pirates of the Caribbean is something that a lot of boys get into, just except for me. Now, the number one spot is the franchise everybody loves, and I'm pretty sure everyone's seen but me. Harry Potter. I'm not getting into Harry Potter at all. Do I hate Harry Potter? No. Do I think it's one of the worst franchises ever? Definitely not. But I do think it isn't something for me. I saw the first Harry Potter movie. I never read any of the books. I saw the first movie, and I thought, is this really that popular? I mean, I guess it makes sense how it's popular. It's just, I don't know. I just never thought it was going to be something I could go through. I always thought of Harry Potter as one of those basic wizards fantasies. The only kind of fantasy out there that mostly shows the wizard. Like when you're an person like Peter Griffin, let's say, he's a fan of iconic stuff. When you say the word wizard, Harry Potter's the first thing that comes in your mind. I don't know. I don't know really I'm gonna go through that. I kind of think Harry Potter's just gonna be a bunch of this and that put it together. It's one of those franchises that's just coincidence. It's coincidence to me. That's kind of the word, coincidence. I coincidentally never grew up with it. If I did grow up with Harry Potter, if I did watch the film when I was younger, I definitely would be a big Harry Potter geek. But since I never did, I kind of just grew up with Harry Potter. Now, what I will admit is one thing that kind of comparable to Harry Potter that I have to enjoy would be The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. The Lord of the Rings franchise is kind of like Harry Potter because it's like a book series that's inspired a lot. And I've gotten into that. Since I never got into Harry Potter, sadly, I just don't think I'm going to go for that. You can think of me of everything and all except Harry Potter. So even though all 10 of these franchises I'm not into at all, you all might be thinking, does this mean I'm no longer a movie geek? Does this mean that everyone's not going to think of me the same way anymore? Does this mean I'm going to get people unsubscribed from me? Look, can I tell you all something? Just because these 10 franchises I'm not into, only these 10, just because I'm not into them, does that really mean I'm the worst movie critic ever? My dad told me that I don't have to watch every famous movie out there to be a good critic. And if he was lying, he probably wouldn't know. I wouldn't love him that much. I try to get through as much as I can. Okay, I love movies so much. I was capable of making a top 40 list. That's what I have to think. If I was able to make a top 40 list of my favorite movies ever, if I would go that high to my favorites, then that could prove I'm a critic. If it was hard to choose what my favorites are, if I was only close enough to make a top 10, then you can call me not a movie critic. But since I was able to go that high into my top 40s in all time, you should really understand that I'm trying to do the best I can. I'm trying to get into this as much. I don't need to watch every popular movie out there. Okay, you already know the franchise I love. I love Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, there's a lot out there. Okay, these 10 are just the only ones. There's a bunch more in this world I can enjoy. I just really feel like I don't need to do all this. So, hope you all enjoyed. I hope I don't lose subscribers for this. If I do, I don't know if I'm going to continue this movie stuff anymore. Bye.